Hey, what's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast for a very special episode. I know many of you absolutely love the episodes where I kind of go back over the history of Paranormal State episodes, and as I mentioned after the last very well-received episode with Ryan Buell, which, by the way, thank you all for your comments, and I sincerely appreciate everybody taking the time to not only listen to that episode with Ryan, but to also share it. But I wanted to do something fun with Ryan, bring him back, and go over a case of Paranormal State with him. So Mr. Buell is on the line with me right now. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, Chad?
Just hanging out, man, thinking about the good old days and a specific case that I know everybody will want to hear us talk about. Yeah. And it's a case that the amount of things that went on behind the scenes were unbelievable. I think we've said before we could have made a documentary on making this episode, and that is I Am 6 Part 2. Let me just set the stage here for everybody, and then I'm going to kind of cut you loose, Ryan, so people can hear from your perspective of everything that you had to deal with, which was fascinating for me. Really quickly, Ryan, what was the name? I always forget the name. It was somewhere like in Kentucky, but all these towns were named like Egyptian names or something.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Cairo. Cairo, Kentucky. It
was super strange. As I didn't know this all existed in Kentucky, and I remember on the way to this town, there was numerous towns that had like Egyptian names.
Yep.
But to set the stage for everybody, I typically am never told what is going on in detail at all with the case because I have to go in and record evidence, so it's best for me to not know what's happening and just see what I can experience. So when I showed up, it was late night, and for some reason I was the last one there. I think my flight was just late. And you and I, Ryan, always stayed up late chatting, and we didn't really talk about the case that night, but we started talking about Paranormal State in general. And this is kind of want to share this because people heard a lot about the behind the scenes on your last podcast. And this is how this kind of started out, is you and I just stayed up very late just talking about Paranormal State and the things we thought that could be done better and things that we hoped for in the future, that type of thing. Now, I'm just now starting to kind of get my footing on the show, and you and I are hanging out a lot, and I think people are noticing that. The following morning, when I wake up for this case, I've yet to even go to the set or really hear much about the case. I get a phone call from an executive producer. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not trying to out him or piss him off or anything, but this phone call comes, and this dude rips into me. Like, man, my mom has never scolded me this way. Like, it was ridiculous. He was screaming, telling me, I don't know what the fuck you think you're doing. You know, you think you have some kind of control over Ryan Buell. You can make this your show, and you could twist him and get him to do whatever the fuck you want to do. And I am going, what in the fuck is going on right now? And yeah, so I fire back. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm not trying to change anything. I go, we just stayed up having a conversation. And I guess you had written them a note on some of your thoughts post-conversation and fired it to them. They panicked. So as this is happening, I hang up my phone, and I'm going to go, I mean, honestly, at the time, Ryan, I'm kind of pissed off at you. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, dude, are you trying to, get me kicked completely off this fucking thing? Like, what's going on? And right as I'm going to go to your hotel room, I start getting these 18 text messages of the number 18. Now, those listening to this podcast will know why that number is important to me and why at the time it was very frightening to me. There was a lot that was going on because I was personally very deeply invested in my family's case, which is a demonic case. And that number was repetitive at a time where people started dying around me and some really crazy stuff. So now I'm like double pissed off at you. because I'm thinking, this is not funny, dude. Like, I got, this producer telling me, I'm the biggest piece of shit on planet Earth, and he's got my number. He's watching me. And then I got you texting me 18s, and we've yet to leave for set. So I go down and knock on your door, and you were on the phone with the network, and I could tell that you were fully engaged in a fight with them. And yeah, I opened the door right away, and I'm talking to Serge, and I'm like, Serge, did he send me these texts? And Serge's like, Chad, he's been on the phone the whole time. Like, no. To make a long story short, you make it clear you did not do it. And I can't believe you have this footage, Ryan. Guys, we were talking about this, and Ryan, this was a couple weeks ago, and Ryan was like, you know what, dude, I still have that footage. So go ahead and explain the situation from your end, Ryan, and then I'll play this footage after that as well.
So, I mean, from what I recall, because we're talking like 15, 16 years ago, like we were doing this case in Kentucky that, involved, I mean, it had some dark elements to it, but as we rolled in there, and what people didn't know, because how would people know, is that there was a lot of internal strife going on back and forth between myself and production. And, constant battles. And around this time, I mean, it was just bloody,
brutal.
I mean, it was like
brutal.
Every other day, it was just something. And we weren't even, I mean, maybe on my end too, but like we were past civility. I mean, it was just, like you said, brutal exchanges. Yeah. And so here I am. I'm supposed to be, because this is who I am. I'm supposed to be a paranormal investigator who's got empathy, going into a case with empathy to try to help people. Yet here we are just arguing over whatever, whether it be they don't like a certain cast member, they want to change it out, or whatever direction it is that I am insisting we take, and they're fighting with me for the 1,222nd time. Right. And I don't really remember the exact specifics of what was going on. But it was just so weird because like we were staying in a really shitty hotel. I remember that much because we're in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God. I do. Under my bed, there was like 50. Remember this? Someone blew their nose. Under my bed, there was like 50 like Kleenexes. Because
I don't know if it was blowing the nose.
Maybe you didn't know about this or something. Yeah, I ended up switching rooms because of it. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Yeah, it was a bad hotel, dude. It was real bad.
Yeah, it was rough. But I came out of the hotel room after just being, whatever, just eat. But it wasn't even just phone calls. It was phone calls and emails at the same time. And then I come out, and then you're coming at me pretty hot. Why'd you send me this? Why'd you send me? And I'm like, what is happening? Why'd you send me 18, bro? That's not funny. And I'm like, I was just like, take a step back. And when you said 18, of course, you and I had some talks where you had disclosed to me that you were having these experiences with the number 18. And so again, I was just like, okay, like, what is this new thing that I have to deal with? And but
let me kind of explain something. If you want to stick around on projects like this and to be a part of things like this, the way to do it is to not make yourself the center of attention. Okay, this was the worst case scenario for me because first off, A&E can't do anything with my story anyways, right? So anytime, if we're going to be talking about that or whatever, I mean, that's just burnt footage. That's not what we're doing. We're there to help another family. So I'm sitting here going, I don't want my story to fill over on screen. And at the same time, I'm worried that, shit, I don't want my problems to become Ryan's problems or this family's problems that we're going to. Am I bringing like my own negative shit to this? And at the same time, I was super pissed because only a few people at that time knew about 18. And you were one of them. And once we talked about it, I could see on your face that you were just kind of like, look, man, it's not that I don't care, but fuck, dude, I've got too much shit on my plate. And I understood that. So once we started talking, you were like, yeah, you totally were like, dude, I need you to step back and calm down. Because I was really pissed.
And please don't think that in that moment that I was just like, fuck you, Chad, and your problems.
No, I know. I don't mean it like that at all, Ryan. I mean it in the most understanding way. Like, there's only so much anybody can do, man. You know, I mean, really. Like, what are you supposed to do right there? Hey, Chad, we're going to drop everything here right now and let's discuss your childhood. You know what I mean? It's like there's not much, you know, that I knew this is not the time or place, and my problems were already causing chaos. And I didn't want that to happen. And things got really weird, though, and you recorded this. I'm going to play everybody the footage here, because in our discussion about it, in which you were saying to me, listen, I did not text you 18s. I wouldn't do that. I didn't do that. We noticed on my phone that I was receiving the numbers, the text, and the time was going backwards. Okay? So they were coming in, like when you receive a text normally, it's at the time that you receive it. And the next text will be at that time, and it's moving forward. Well, this was going backwards. There's a lot of reasons that that's unnerving. You know, one reason is because, look, we know anything related with the demonic in reverse is a telltale sign. And I was looking at that going, oh my God, this is absolutely happening. And you and I have also had the discussions about how as time evolves, you know, we've seen cases and experiences where the demonic are in fact manipulating technology, right? So this is like going down, and it fucked with both of us pretty good. And you had the footage, so I'm going to play the footage for everybody right here. So check this out, guys.
Why don't you just film yourself?
Oh, well.
I'll film you too.
Anyways, so I'm in my room and I get a text message from Ryan asking me if I want to eat breakfast. And I say, yeah, I'm bringing my bags. And then I get this text message, and if you look, you can see 10:43:16, and it just says the number 18 on it, okay? And I texted him back, lovely, which came up. And then another 18 text came up from Ryan. From his phone, 18 came up, okay?
I did not physically send you anything.
And how easy is it to send two numbers off your iPhone?
To send numbers, I would have to hit this, and it's one thing to just have all this shit mashed. That makes sense. I would have to hit this, numbers have to come up, then I would have to hit this, and then I'd have to send it.
And you have to do it twice. Exactly the same thing.
You got it twice. You sure it's just not the same message
No,
error?
look, man. That is the time. There's 10:43 is that one. Okay? 10:43:18 a.m.
Wait, go back. Can I see all of them together? Like, can you just see like the whole transcript?
A list? Yeah.
10:43, 10:43.
5.
Wait.
Whoa, so what the fuck?
That doesn't make any sense.
No. It's going backwards. Okay, so the first one is the thing started with you heading out, or not yet. Started at 10:41, then 10:43:04, 10:42. It's working backwards. 42:54, 10:43:35.
Why are my texts? Why are my letters?
You are behind me.
Why are my messages behind you?
That is fucking freaky. This is even weirder. All of his text messages that are coming to me are occurring earlier than the ones that I'm sending back to him.
Well, what are the time differences between your phones? It doesn't say the time differences. It's by a matter of.
This is when I received the text.
So you got it on 10:43:05.
Yeah, but look when I answered him at 10:45.
24.
So it came in before that. So then there's same 10:43:18, which is how many seconds later? Earlier, 10:43:35, which is ahead of that. So all of his responses are coming earlier than mine.
Huh.
It's fucking weird.
Now, could that be some sort of phone glitch?
Did you ask Bozak?
Like maybe that's.
I would say it is a phone glitch, but what is causing it is what.
I heard Bozak. I have their info.
Okay, great.
Are we like checking out right now?
I prefer not to have Bozak.
I prefer not.
Okay, so as you can see, whenever I watch this footage, I feel so bad for you, Ryan, because I can see on your face, it's not that you don't give a shit. You do give a shit. But what can be done? You know? What can be done in that moment?
I think I was also a little, like, perplexed.
Yeah.
Like, so, and you said something that kind of hit me, and it's one of those regrets I have about Paranormal State, which is when you were like, here I am coming with my stuff and my experiences, and, I don't want that to be a problem. And the thing is, we're supposed to be making a documentary, and I do believe Paranormal State was the closest, like one of the closer forms of documentary out there. But we always had to spend so much energy fighting for authenticity sometimes that by the time it's like we'd fight for it, and then by the time it was like, okay, we have a little bit of room to be our authentic selves, we were too exhausted.
Yeah.
And it was, I wish we had more space and support, and encouragement to, like, my role was supposed to be, like, which was, who I really was. I wasn't cast for this show. Like,
right.
Hey, do you want to be an investigator? Like, this is what I was doing. I was going into people's homes. The role that I had as director of PRS is an authentic role. And so if we had more time to be ourselves, we could have grown into that. And, you coming in kind of, new into this, there were times you very much, thing about I've always appreciated about you, Chad, is that you wear your heart in your sleeve. If you're having a reaction or feeling about something, that's how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And so I hate that so many real genuine moments always had to be cut because, granted, too, time, right? With 22 minutes, where do you put this new quote unquote story thread in? But yeah, I could see that this thing genuinely, creeped you out, disturbed you. And I was also like, wait, my phone sent you this?
Yeah.
Like just now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it didn't. And not that I didn't believe you. It was more of like, no way. And you're showing it to me and you're like, this is what you just sent me.
Yeah.
And I think it also, in the back of my mind, put things in perspective that we're dealing with all this bullshit, but we're also still dealing with the otherworldly too, while I'm arguing with some assholes out in California.
Well, and it's weird. I know what you're saying, because the ironic thing is, had we stopped and had EPs that were willing to listen, and not that all weren't. I still love Gary Arbach. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Gary wasn't making the final call, right? With everything. Had we had some people that would have listened, how amazing would it have been to say, hey guys, we have a very real situation here where our number one field investigator has some heavy shit going down with this family, and it's causing us to have to approach this case differently. And this is a real life thing that happens that's never been documented before, and how we contend with this. Think how unique of a documentary that would have been. You know what I mean? But you'd have to show it over the course of several episodes, right? But at the time, that just wasn't the format. It wasn't the format, and I knew that. And like I said, when you're in my situation at that time, I'm just sitting here going, man, I just want to be helpful. You know what I mean? It's like Paranormal State. It's not my baby. It's not something I created. This is Ryan's, and I'm going. But I believe in it. I really did choose it because of the family aspect, and I've been and was very much at that time. The families that we were going to visit, that was my family. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was me. So I always got that part of the show, and I was just like, man, now we got to go do this case, and this family, this is their opportunity to be rightfully selfish. You're there, they have problems, this is their chance to get help. Like, I don't want to just roll my shit in, you know? So that's how things started. And I'm just like going, it's already chaos. And I just want to say this too. The one thing that you could never capture on film, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, Ryan, when I showed up there without even knowing yet what the case was about, I am telling you, the first step off the plane, I knew it was a demonic case. There is a feeling that is so overwhelming and is so just intense and dark, and it's not something I can even find the words for, per se. It's just something you feel, and it affects everybody in a way where, I mean, everybody just acts fucking weird, man. The crew was acting weird. I'm sure I was. You were. Like, there is a presence and a power that's overwhelming to those cases. And my God, are they not fun. They are not fun. And I knew it right away when I was landing there. I'd say a big reason I do it too, because I remember driving in, and there was this, like, 6-7 story tall cross in the middle of this town. It was massive. And when I drove by it, Ryan, it creeped me out. Like, I don't know what it was about it, but it wasn't like, oh God, what an amazingly beautiful, peaceful thing. I got the worst. It was just super, super creepy, man. You know, super creepy. But you know what I'm talking about, right? That vibe, that feeling that you just get on those cases.
Oh yeah, all too well. We'd been working on demonic cases since, like, what, 2004?
Yeah,
I think was our first time we worked with the church, and like there's like a familiarity when you go into a case. It's like that line from The Exorcist where Father Karras is like, hey, let me go through all the unique aspects of this case, and Father Merrin just stops him and goes, no, there's only one. You know, and that, like, you know, Karras was like, oh, all these different personalities and all these different demonic names, and Merrin's like, there's only one. And and like in the movie, which was based on a real case, it's kind of like you've done one, you've done them all. You know, and so, sure, like, it doesn't have to be heads spinning backwards and people crawling down, you know, upside down stairwells, whatever. There is this covertness feeling, presence you get, like something hanging back.
Yep.
And it hits you to where your instincts you're disturbed. Like, you know you're in the presence of something inhuman. You know what it felt like to me, and this isn't even exactly precisely right, but it always felt like to me that no matter where we were and no matter how many people we were around, it's like something is peering around the corner at you, or looking at you from the woods, or looking at you through a window, and you don't see it. Just, you always feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the score here, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who's really with me right now. Like, it's super creepy. But I noticed that those cases always affected you in a great way. And so, yeah, this was already off to, like, the worst start imaginable. So I remember we ended up packing it all up.
And I remember you and I stayed up till like 4 in the morning too, and these phone calls to tear me apart and for to fight with you came like at 7 in the morning. I mean, it was like we had like 3 hours of sleep too to begin with it, and we show up to this house in Kentucky, and I remember very little about it because, again, not a lot was being shared with me. I remember being told not to talk to the kid. There was a son there, and something about him really creeped me out anyways. I couldn't understand why we couldn't talk to him. But then I heard a little bit about the case, and you can kind of tell me if my memory is correct or not. But what I remember hearing about the case is, we couldn't talk to the son. I didn't know why, but they said he's the no-no. And the person there, am I correct, Ryan, that had a sister that committed suicide and just woke up and like walked into a river or something like that?
Yeah. So again, memory's a bit fuzzy, but we were called in to do a case in Kentucky where it was a husband and wife who live in a house. I want to think that the kid wasn't theirs, but maybe it was the sisters. I'm not sure. But the wife's sister had committed suicide. Yeah. By walking down to the river where that gigantic cross was. Yeah. Again, maybe it brings comfort to some others, but you're in the middle of nowhere, and then there's just this gigantic cross. It didn't really, to me, it didn't invoke feelings of peace. No. It felt more like, maybe it's just overactive imagination, like it was put there for a reason.
There was something very off about it, that's for sure. It did not invoke peace at all. No.
Yeah, and when we say big cross, we don't mean like, 8 feet. We're talking like, 15 stories or 10. Like, it was huge.
It was massive.
Humongous. Yeah. But according to the living sister who called us in, she felt as if her sister was demonically oppressed, essentially. Like something demonic was preying on her and encouraged her or manipulated her to end her life. And the living sister, was claiming or feeling as if that whatever was haunting her sister was still there. And so it had those kind of elements of a demonic case, which, we know that in demonic cases, an ultimate goal is possession, but another alternative is, death.
Suicide,
So, and it often happens with oppression. If it cannot achieve full possession, then it takes the other route. So that's what we were going into. And regardless if you believe in the paranormal or not, or maybe you don't think it was demonic, you have a family that's hurting and suffering and mourning the loss of a loved one who they think who died, who was influenced by something negative or evil. So that's what we were going into.
It's hard to relate to people too, because again, there's things the camera just can't pick up. And when you're there, you have competing interests that just don't align. I mean, you have this family that is bleeding, man. Their life has been completely ripped apart. And then you have a film crew that, not because they're bad people, but just because they have to focus on what they're doing as far as just making film. And it seems really insensitive. And I've always known that was a hard place for you and I, but more so for you because you've had to deal directly with the family. But having to jump back and forth, this line of no bullshit, non-emotional business, dollars and cents producing, and then you jump into this highly spiritual, religious, emotional tragedy that took place. It affects everyone in a weird way, but it was really affecting you. And I could see it. Everybody was saying it to me. It affected me. I mean, when Chip showed up, he was different. He wasn't his normal jovial self. And you may or may not remember this, because again, you were really, what you were is, dude, every time I would look at you, you'd have that like 1,000-mile stare. And it just seemed like you were somewhere else and worried about something heavy that we all didn't see or didn't know what was coming. Like, I didn't know, but you looked really, just really emotionally fucked up. So at one point, again, you may or may not remember this, I pulled you to the side away from everybody. And I just said, hey man, like, what is going on with you? Because, like, we're fixing to, do this investigation, and I'm going to be in here, and, like, everyone's kind of looking to you to know what's going on, and you don't seem right to me right now. And you stood there forever, and you've always been a long pauser anyways before you answer things. And I was standing there, and it was an exceptionally long pause. And I was just waiting like, okay, did he hear me? Like, what the fuck? And you just leaned forward, and you said it under your breath to me. You said, this motherfucker wants to kill me. And I didn't know what that meant, if you were talking about the case, the demonic, a person there, A&E. Like, I don't know what was going on. But I know this, dude. You said it with an amount of conviction that for the first time on a Paranormal State case, I was like having those, tinglings of real fear. And there's a difference between being startled and being like geeked out versus being like, whoa, like, is something really bad on the horizon? You know what I mean? And from that moment forward, I know for me, everything just kind of went to a different level of like being freaked out.
My job specifically is to have empathy for the work that we're doing. I mean, that's who I am. Like, we're there to help them.
Right.
So, if you think about like anyone with empathy, then put them in a room with a group of people who just shit on them and bash them, and they're like, all right, now go do your job. It's like, you're not really going to be functioning properly.
Right.
And then, of course, you add the paranormal element. And sure, and what I hate is that the weapons of the demonic aren't so, like, again, it's covert, right? It's the little sleight of hand. And so if this case truly was demonic, and then you have all this fighting and discord, like, I'm distracted. I'm dealing with 50 different things except for the thing I should be dealing with.
Right.
I was also thinking, when you were bringing up that comment, it kind of hit me because, if you look at my story, hindsight 2020, I mean, I went down some dark roads, man.
Yeah, you said it with conviction. Like, it's like, you're not acting for me. You know what I mean? It's like, we were away from everybody behind the house. No one even knew where we were. Like, it was just a moment where I grabbed you. And it was weird. Shortly after that, Katrina said, yeah, we can walk through the house, or she was going to show me where things went down. And we went to the basement. And you were still upstairs talking to it wasn't Ben that time, it was a different director. And I was down there, and Katrina's telling me everything that goes on down there. And I said, well, what goes on specifically, like, in this room, in the room that we were in? This is crazy. There is this beat up drum kit. It looked like a kid's drum kit, like a child's drum kit. Kick drum, couple toms, a snare. And she says, Katrina says they report that they hear the drums playing on their own down here. And 2 seconds after she says it, and the drum kit's probably 5 feet from us, the kick drum, just loud as hell, goes off, just thong. And I just look at her like, are you kidding me? And she's like, oh my God, that was insane. That just happened. I'm like, yeah, it just happened. And she's like, well, get Ryan. So I think she either yelled up to you or maybe I yelled up to you. I forget how you got down there, but you came down and, you were trying to, basically otherwise dare it or get it to do it again, which it didn't do, but there was this overwhelming feeling in that basement. So when we did the walkthrough, that was one of the rare times too. You've done it on 2 different occasions, but that was the first time you came to me for some reason and you said, I want you to do this walkthrough with me. And that was just not something I did, typically on the show. And I said, okay. And so it was me, you, and Chip. And we had just gotten through like the first room upstairs, and we're following Chip doing his thing, and he beelines for the stairs to the basement. And we go down in the basement, and Chip is acting at this point super weird, like to the point where I'm just like, is this like mediumship or is this psychic? Like, is something talking through him? Like, what is going on? And again, it's me, you, and him. And he's down there and he starts saying, Ryan, it wants you to know something. It's laughing. It's saying I can do whatever I want. And Chip said, it's saying I can kill you. Or I could kill anybody I want. And you said, like, you answered back, you were like, whatever, this is bullshit. Kind of like, this is bullshit. Like, and Chip again repeatedly said, no, it's saying I can kill whoever I want. And Chip takes a step and fires towards my face and says, even you. And I would say Chip had no idea like how close he came to just getting flatlined. Like I was a second away from ragdolling that old man's ass. I was just like, dude, I am not in a good place right now. And that is not the shit I need to hear. And the way he was acting and the way he stepped towards me, it freaked me out for a couple reasons. Not only because it was weird, because again, it's like, dude, I don't need this, man. I don't need this attention. I don't need to feel like something here is fucking with me specifically. Nobody wants this, Again, I'm like, production doesn't want this. They don't care about it. They don't know what to do with it. There's nothing they could do anyways. Ryan has his hands full. I feel guilty as shit for being there at that point now, because I'm just going, man, this is really fucking things up, I don't want to be a target of anything. I want to help, And I remember you had basically broke it up, that Chip thing. You was like, hey, back up, chill out, everybody. And it was just one of those things, again, where we had never heard anything like that. Something saying, I can kill you, or I could kill, period. You know what I mean? And it was just a different level of weirdness again. What did you think of his walkthrough that whole time? It was different, right? It was different. It was way different.
I mean, sure, it was more intense, but it was 2 things. I always had this 2 thoughts of mine battling it out in my head, which is he full of shit?
Right.
Being fed information from production, and
right.
If so, that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because you go in there with a complete level of trust with the psychic, especially now that you're on a show, and I can't control the flow of information. Everyone can say, "Yeah, no, I'm not talking to Chip," but you don't know at the end of the day.
Nor is he going to tell you if he is, right.
Yeah, and then 2, the other thought was, if this is, he's connecting with something demonic, okay, now it's taunting us, and I'm already in a bad mood.
Right.
Like...
I know.
So, it's kind of like, it sounds congruent if it was responsible for what it did, but it's... Again, there were just times that, I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, I was just tired. Tired before I even got in there, which also made me upset because I shouldn't be tired before I got in there. But so here we are, we're doing this case, and Chip is being very dramatic.
Yeah. Weird, man.
And then I had no idea you were about to clock him. I mean,
dude, I was in no fucking place to play. No place to play, dog. I was just like, he was. I'm glad you broke it up.
But sometimes it's about hating the messenger, right? Like if he is channeling something, the spirit. Well, am I pissed off at Chip or am I pissed off at the spirit?
Yeah.
But you had this very unique, I don't want to say role, but you very much would sit back and observe people.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
You were able to observe everything that was going around. Where I'd be running with my head cut off, and I think there's something to that because whether it speaks for whether it was paranormal or just toxicity or both. It clearly there was some stuff going on and everyone felt it.
I'm glad you saw that. It was like watching a movie play out, dude. I mean, I was literally watching it all happen as it's happening. And because of that, I was able to pick up on things with you, with Katrina, with Chip, with Tad. There was definitely personality traits and things that I could see that I'd be like, wow, that's different about them. And I remember, on that case, you were just in a dark place, and so was Chip, and he was acting super weird. And when I say I was about ready to ragdoll him, it wasn't because I view it as Chip, him as a person. I'm just telling you, man, the amount of shit I was dealing with at home with my family, and then to show up and have to, to be told, oh, it can kill you, and then I'm getting these messages that cannot be explained, sitting back, and there's a raging war going on. I was in the same place you were. It's I'm already in a really, really bad mood, and the last thing I'm going to listen to is any entity known to man, much less one with a heartbeat, tell me it's going to kill me. You know what I mean? It's this isn't, I'm not just going to sit back and be cool with this. You know what I mean? But thankfully, again, that situation got broken up. And shortly after, I remember another thing that just happened. I was like, oh my God, I cannot tell anybody this. Is the one sister was talking about how the sister who unfortunately committed suicide had met this demon Raum in the hallway. That's what she had called it. And I had heard that name once before, and that's actually in the 1988 notes from that Peter Jackson that came to our house. It was something that my mother had prayed to, as this Raum. And I was just going, man, God damn it, I'm not even going to tell anybody this. And then all of a sudden I heard that you wanted to do the Ganzfeld during dead time. Now walk me through your thought process with that, because I did not voice it to you, but I did voice it to Katrina. I did tell her, hey, I don't think we should be doing this at this moment. Things are way fucked up, because you were truly breaking ground at that point. You wouldn't find another demonologist, not that you're a demonologist, but I mean people who are doing demonic cases. There was not another one on planet Earth that was introducing things like the Ganzfeld to a demonic case. So therefore, we don't know what's going to happen. And earlier on with Chip literally telling me that he could kill me, this isn't a good idea. And it freaked me out. But I also knew that once you decided to do it, you were going to do it. So I was like, you know what, I do not want to become another guy fighting with him. So I just decided that I was going to make sure that I was available to watch what goes down. But walk me through your thought process about why you chose to do that in that situation.
Yeah. Again, I'm recalling fragments of memory, but I think, we were dealing with a case where it wasn't a lot of current activity. It was pieces of activity, and that this thing was kind of hanging out in the background. So I thought, well, if we do Ganzfeld in this situation, which for anyone who doesn't know what Ganzfeld is, it's essentially a deprivation experience.
Yeah.
You
Sensory. Yeah.
Sensory. Yeah, you are blindfolded, or you have little shades around your eyes where all you can see is a red hue. You can't hear anything, and so you start relying more on your other senses. And for Chip, who's psychic, this could help us get some more insight as to what's happening here. And Chip was all for it. I was always aware of the dangers of it, of course, being semi-hypocritical. I would never condone someone doing this. For like, hey, we're doing this demonic case. We're thinking about doing Ganzfeld. I would be like, that sounds like a terrible idea. But, when you have experience, it's like, okay, sitting here directing this, so to speak, and I'm like, all right, so this is going to kind of put us a little close to the edge, but we'll try a little bit, and if so, and if anything bad happens, we'll pull the plug, and just back off. Chip was like, I'm okay to do this. Okay, cool. And so, he did the Ganzfeld, and again, and then something kind of incredible happened.
Yeah. Well, explain that. Walk me through that. What exactly happened? Because I witnessed it, and it blew my mind. But go ahead and walk me through. First of all, explain exactly what the Ganzfeld is, what you do when you do it, and then explain to me what happened.
Well, again, the Ganzfeld is like a sensory deprivation experiment where, like, is that what you wanted me to explain?
Well, yeah, but what do you do to take away his sensory? Like, what do you do? Yeah.
So, like with us or with Chip, we would not necessarily blindfold. We'd have like these ping pong balls until we figured something out later.
Yeah.
And a red light and headphones, right? With white noise. So it for him, it almost puts him in like a trance-like state, where he can kind of peer out further beyond, into the environment, and see something or feel something or get, a better idea of what was going on. And
now, if I could just add this, because I've done it, for those of you that have never done it out there, which I'm assuming that's most everybody, what's really terrifying about it is, at least for me, maybe you could kind of give your thoughts too on this, Ryan, the white noise, you will hear it, and it's just static. For those wondering, it's just like shh, just really loud, just shh, forever in your ear, right? All of a sudden, and it's happened every time I've done it, you will start hearing voices. You will start hearing people screaming. You will start hearing laughing, giggling, painful moaning. It is wild. It is wild. And it's never right away. It just comes after you're kind of in this state that you're talking about. So it really does feel, Ryan, like how people describe DMT, like it kind of opens you up to some other world or something. It is wild. It is real. It's effective, and it is bizarre. At least those have been my experiences. Yours, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and the thing is that Ganzfeld was just a deprivation experience, and what they found when they would do studies, they weren't intending for this, but they found that like over 60% of people reported having some type of paranormal experience.
Yeah. It's wild.
But, scientists were like, oh, that's neat. Okay, cool, whatever.
It's wild.
So we were like, well, what if we brought this into a paranormal case? That would be kind of interesting. So, and in this case, we're dealing with something potentially more intense, and now we have a psychic. And so Chip is essentially, and he's picking up on, again, saying things that were consistent with his reading before, but then he started saying that he he said it was picking up on another case. And I remember before he said that, I was starting to think of I Am 6. And I can't remember why. It was similar to like the episode The Name, where I was working on a case ahead of time, knew the demonic name, and then this was my first time meeting Chip on that case, and then he pulls out that name. And so here we are in Cairo, Kentucky, and he's doing something similar where he said, it's saying 6, I am 6. And when he said it, again, within me, I was thinking, I'm feeling this too. But I don't claim to be psychic. It was just a feeling. So then we stop, we take a break, because when we would do intense things like that, be like, all right, let's take a little break, let's take a breather. And then, of course, production would be like, okay, we're shifting gears. Because we wouldn't let them stop when we were doing stuff like that. So if something happened, like they need to do a battery change or whatever, nope, too late, you wait until we're done. So took a break, they were doing their thing. I go check my phone, and sure as shit, there's a message from Laura's mother. And she's saying, she left me a voicemail. She called while we were doing Ganzfeld during dead time, saying, we really desperately need your help. This thing is trying to kill Laura.
Yeah.
Minutes between Chip saying what he said and then me checking my phone and seeing that Mom from the IM6 case had just called me.
Well, let me add this too. I notoriously have voiced public doubt and skepticism to every psychic that we ever had. And it's not because I have beef with any of them. I have beef with the whole psychic field just because it's the most abused and absolute bullshit field. And the other thing is, I do believe that it's possible. I've seen people, there's been two psychics specifically that I've seen do things that there's no way they could have known, but it's so abused. You know what I mean? It could be so faked. And I saw the way A&E used it. They used it like evidence. If the evidence was weak, they would spend extra time on the psychic walkthrough, and they would, I used to piss them all off by calling them all guessers. Bring in the guesser. And it would be like, they would have them walk around guessing for 2 hours, and they would, cinch together the 5 things that made sense, and they would treat it like evidence. So I was always just really, turned off by that aspect of it. But listen, I was there. To everybody else, as Ryan pointed out earlier, I always had that unique vantage point of being able to watch things as they unfold. I was there. I know the time frame of when Chip said that. I know she had called, and if I wish the public could have heard the whole message, because that was a terrifying message in your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, she was stressing, my daughter is going to die tonight. This thing is going to kill her unless I get help. And I could say those words, but you'd have to hear the emotion that was in that message. And the reason I knew there wasn't a chance in hell that production fed this information to Chip is because the last thing on planet Earth they wanted was for you, Ryan, to say, pack up our shit, we're going to Quincy, Illinois. They did not want you to leave. After you listened to the phone call, I think I was the first person you might have spoken to. You came to me and you said, yeah, listen to this. And you let me hear the call, and I was like, whoa. And you left for a while, and it exploded. Between production and you and this poor family has no clue what's going on. That was weird because I actually started trying to, run interference between the family and because the family was freaked out. They're like, what's going on? Like, why is everybody fighting? You know what I mean? And I'm like, geez, and I knew right then that you had a really, really hard decision to make. I knew the decision I thought you were going to make. I knew the reason why I thought you were going to make it. And I fully supported you. I was like, this is one of those moments that, like, this is an altering decision that Ryan's going to have to make here. Because in order to go there, we're going to have to go to war to go there. Just knowing how budgets work, knowing where we were in the season. So everybody knows, too, like, when you have a set budget, and Paranormal State was around $500,000 for one episode. So that means you have that much money to produce that episode and not a dollar more. So if you leave one case and you've only filmed like a day, and there's no middle or ending, you just burnt through, that budget or that portion of that budget. And the way that the network would look at it is, well, if you're going to another case, you have to somehow find a way to sew this case up, and you don't have the footage, and you got to find a way to tell the story of the next case, and you ain't got the days. So they're not looking at it as like a $500,000 loss. They're looking at it as potentially $1 million loss. And that type of shit, people get fired for. People get sued. Like stars get sued. Like this happens. So I knew this is going to be a real scenario. This is going to be a real scenario. And I at the time, because, I had just worked in the industry longer than you, Rye. So I was able to just recognize all this stuff immediately. And I don't think anybody in your crew fully understood what was happening. But I did. And I was going, man, this is going to get real, like right now. And it did. So tell me what was the decision that you were faced with in that moment once you heard that message? And why did you make the decision that you made?
I mean, it came down to, an ethical obligation. Here I am saying that, look at the title card, the intro, each, PRS receives thousands of cases. We only respond to the most severe, blah, blah, blah. Like, so here we were working on a case, and this is going to sound really cold. We had a family who was hurting and grieving the loss of her sister. And up the road, there was a case where there was a young woman that might be killed. At that time, we weren't dealing with those risks in the Kentucky case, right? It was, this thing had achieved its goal of killing someone. And there was this other case where like it was active and the person was still alive. And it was just like, okay, I think it was like 6 hours. I can't remember what it was. So I'm like, this could work. And then I said, look, I think we need to go. And yes, it was very elevated.
Dude, all I remember is you, man. Yeah, it was one of the most heated things I had ever seen on set. You said, I'm going. You can either film me or fucking fire me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, again, it wasn't like we were having, and again, not everyone in production was awful, but the people that I had to interact with, that were tasked with, I guess, communicating with me or whatever.
Yeah.
We didn't have reasonable conversations.
Right.
It was, we're going to sue you, you piece of shit. You should be grateful.
Yeah.
Those were the daily, affirmations I was getting from them as, they were making God knows how much money. So putting on the producer hat for a second, I'm like, look, we've got stuff here. We keep going here. I admit I was not privy to all the behind the scenes production stuff. Fine.
When you were still learning, you were still, it was only like
Sure.
season 3, man. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, so it was, again, this whole, you absolutely cannot do this. You need to sit here and keep doing this. And no, we already did IM6. And so it was just this, it just came down to who needed the most help.
Right.
And I even remember talking to some of the crew, the people who are tasked with like doing the cameras, the audio and stuff. And unless they were blowing smoke up my ass, they were like, let's do it. And so they were,
because remember, a lot of those cameramen and those field producers, like those are, when they're not with us, they're filmmakers. Like one of our producers, I don't know if I ever told you this or not, one of my favorite all-time documentaries of all time, it's about the New York hardcore scene. Like when I was in 35-Inch Mutter, we watched this thing in our band practice every fucking day. One of the producers of Paranormal State was the director of that film that I found out during Sex Dungeon, that case. I was like, you are kidding me. You made that doc? Yeah, dude. So it's like all those guys, you know, I mean, those are what they call the door kickers, right? They're the people that are down on, you know, that are getting it.
Yeah, this was like their...
Yeah.
Some of them had real, true documentary passion.
Yes.
I got along great with them.
Sure.
I think that they totally kind of understood what it was we were doing. They were like, I'm down to do this. And they went to the producers and finally started telling them, like, we can move things around. We can make this work.
Right.
So, but...
The place where I thought you could win in the argument, because I'm thinking legal at that point, because I know this is a $1 million decision, and I don't care who you are, you burn through $1 million in cash without anything to show for it, you will have legal trouble.
Right.
Very real legal trouble.
Sure.
So the place that I saw it where we could win was two things. One, at the heart of the series, it is supposed to document the real life cases of PRS. This was a real life event that happened on a case of PRS. So you would have that argument to make. Secondly, I felt like, I mean, look, you've been with me on my films. I intentionally shoot like this. I'll schedule like a 21-day shoot. I'll schedule things we're shooting for the first 4 days only, knowing that we're going to go somewhere. The story will take us somewhere. So I felt like, look, if I'm there with you, worst case scenario, I have enough experience doing films like this. If I had to, and worst case scenario, you and I could tell them, fine, to save all the money, take everybody from post just off it, and Chad and I will do it. And I would go in there and edit with you, you know what I mean? And we'd get it done. I felt like, worst case scenario, if it comes to that, we can do it. But it's worth doing. I firmly felt like this is worth doing. If you'd have heard that message...
And I remember...
That message from the mother sold me, dude. That was so real. You know.
I mean, and I do remember you at times, telling me that behind the scenes you would try to tell them things like that, which really meant a lot to me because, again, I know that on their end there's budgets and everything, but I just remember again, wishing, just trust me.
That needed to happen,
you know, like...
Well, to bring up a moment of humor here. Now, remember, Ryan, this whole thing started with me getting a phone call telling me how dare I influence Ryan Buell. That my job is to ghost hunt and shut the fuck up, or they will fire my ass quicker than I could imagine. And they know what I'm doing. I don't got the right to tell you shit. I'm like, all right, fine, man, whatever. That same guys, you can't write this shit. That same executive producer called me during this argument and wanted me to influence Ryan Buell to not go to Illinois. In which my response was, hey, man, look, you said it best. It's not my job to influence Ryan Buell. Sorry, I'm not the guy. I'm just supposed to ghost hunt and shut the fuck up. You know, it's just hilarious, man. It's so funny that same guy. But I did. I went to, our main producer that was out there with us in the field, and the director during all that argument, because you guys were fighting. So I was just trying to plant seeds of comfort. You know what I mean? So I was going to them saying, hey, listen, like, I get why the uppers are freaking right now. I don't agree with them, but I understand it. And I was telling them, I'll do it for free if I have to. Like, I will sit with Ryan. You can take all your post editors and send them home, and we'll do it. I will get it done for whatever the budget is, but let's go do this. Now, thankfully, we didn't have to do that. You know, magic happened when we were out there. But, yeah, man, I mean, I wish we were documenting all of that, because that was some seriously intense shit on every level, with the case, with the family we're with, the family we're going to, A&E proper in New York, production in LA, the field production, the crew of figuring out who you, because the whole time you're still trying to figure out who you need for the case too. You know what I mean? You got to figure out, like, I'm going to Quincy, who do I bring? You know, like, what's going on? So it was...
And I think, and it was also, like, how do we leave, you know, like, how do we still do something for the family
here,
you know, in Kentucky?
Yeah.
So I think, like, we brought Father Bob in.
Yeah.
I think I left one or two team members there to be there until...
I think so, too. I know you left Father Bob. And he assured us all that he was going to take care of them and make sure that, yeah, he did whatever it is. I mean, I'm not a priest, so I don't know specifically what he did. But, yes, he left him there. You're right. You did leave a couple. Yeah, you did leave a couple members there, too. So, yeah, to move this along, because this was, and it really was, guys. I mean, for those of you listening, it was one of my favorite moments in my 30-year history of filmmaking, because it was absolute utter chaos and war going on, and I just felt like this is the shit that real filmmakers dream of, where you just go, listen, man, fuck that, I am going after the story. This is a story that needs to be told. It's the good fight.
Right. We're
doing the right thing, and we're going to see it through, even if it means we don't have a job tomorrow. Like, we're going to do this. And it was cool, dude. It was intense, man. I loved every second of it as far as that process goes. So we take off. Now, you and I don't remember who was all even riding with us, but I know that you and I finally had some time away from the madness. I remember just being quiet in that van and just being like, whoa, what a fucking crazy situation. And you started finally sharing things with me about the case, because I had seen the first episode, but to be honest, I didn't know if I was necessarily sold on what I saw in the first episode, but I was sold on the phone call that I heard. So I was like, you know, going into a demonic case, knowing what I just kind of was dealing with personally, I just really want to know what's going on with this case. So we started discussing it, and you know, what's crazy is the public still doesn't know everything about that case. The stuff that you told me that isn't public knowledge, and some of the files that you showed me, I was like, holy cow. This is a lot more intense than people knew. And I remember we stopped and got like a hot chocolate at Starbucks. And we went to the house. And man, for the life of me, I can't remember what the situation was. But you had the opportunity to take me through to show me where things had happened. And went into the main room, and right away you walk in this house, that feeling that I was talking about, that horrific feeling. It's there in tenfold. I mean, you can really feel it. And you went to this bathroom, and you're like, yeah, this is where Laura was. Her back was cut or scratched, and Elfie was helping her here, and you know, this had happened here, and we're kind of just walking around, and then we go to the basement, and you went down to the basement first, and I followed you in. Now, when I walked into that basement, it is hard to explain this, but I just felt like I was enveloped in horrible emotions. Like it was scared, sad, angry. Like it was just, it felt horrible down there. And I'm not psychic, you know this at all, but from growing up and the conversations we had had, you know, part of the reason why I was often in the right place at the right time is just like a police officer that's been on the case for a long time that kind of gets a nose for what the truth is or who's lying or where things will take place. Kind of the same thing. I usually have a good sense of an idea of where things are going to happen if they're going to. And you often relied upon that when we were together. And you did it right when we went down there. You turned and you saw the look on my face. And you said, Chad, where's it at? And I looked at you and I was like, dude, it's everywhere. And that's exactly how I felt. I was like, there is something alive right now that is around us. Like it's here, like boom, right with us. Now, right as that happened, you turned around to walk towards me and I started to walk towards you. And it felt like, I mean, the easiest way to describe it is it felt like a human being reached out and grabbed my hand from the back. Like if I'm walking forward and someone just reached forward from behind me and grabbed my hand, squeezed my fingers. In which you guys see me on the film freak out. Now, just so you guys know, the footage, and I'll play it here for everybody, this is just Ryan and I's camera. Just because we were there, again, I remember the circumstances. I think we just beat production there. And it was just us and our cameras. So I was just filming with those. That's why we only have handheld footage. So something grabs me, and I just go firing, you know, just past Ryan. And he looks at me, and he's like, what happened? And I'm just like, Ryan, something just grabbed my fucking hand. And then you paused, and you went like, all right. And you were getting ready to like just throw down verbally with it. Right as you started to turn, it didn't feel like a human push with hands. It felt like if you took a big balloon, like a body-sized balloon, and just pushed it against me. It like the whole surface area was from like my ankles to my ears, man. It was just like, whoom. And it moved me. I mean, it pushed me. And when your camera comes back around, you see my hand over my face. And my hands are over my face just because that natural reaction of just covering, you know, your eyes and your mouth and your face, because this whole like energy from top to bottom, I just felt like I got shoved. Now, the weirdest thing, Ryan, is when I got shoved, right after that happened, you hear me say, Ryan, something just pushed me. Dude, that fucked me up. Like, I couldn't see. Like, I couldn't focus on everything. Like, everything was out of focus. I couldn't hear. I mean, like, I could hear, but it was like, wah, wah, wah. Like, it was like a Charlie Brown, like, teacher stuff. Like, my hearing was fucked up. My vision was fucked up. My balance, that's why if you watch that, you'll see me shake my shoulders and try to move my body to kind of reclaim where I'm at, and I just lean over. Because my balance was off. I couldn't, like, step forward sure-footed. And just mentally, I didn't know where I was at. And now when you're watching the footage, a lot of people don't know this or why it happens. I start walking and you yell out loud. You go, dude, don't go in there. Well, what I didn't know is to the left of me is the stairs out. To the right of me, the room that I went into, is a small room that had all these metal hooks and these metal blades from gardening that are just hanging on the wall. So you were yelling at me, telling me, do not go into the room with the blades and the hooks, which I do.
And you went into the room.
Yeah. I walked in, I leaned over, and you came running back right around the corner, and you're like, Chet, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't think so. And you're like, we got to get you out of here. Like, look, this is room with, you know, there's blades here and hooks. And at that time, I'm slowly starting to get, like, oh, man, it was so weird, right? All of my, like, functions, like, they just were all off. And it was starting to come back.
Well, yeah.
And I can make out the stairs. And once I realized where I was, that's when you're following me, and I'm kind of lumbering up the stairs. And that's when we get outside, and I tell you, shut it off. That was the first time in my life that I have ever left a case and walked out of a place and didn't know if I was going to go back in. No bullshit, straight up. I'm not afraid, or embarrassed to say it. I was scared. I was scared. Something, at the time, I was 315 pounds. I'm 6'2". This thing had no problem pushing me and grabbing me and doing whatever. And not only that, it just took away my ability to even make the decision, to walk into a safe room, It fucked me up bad, From your perspective, walk me through all that, man.
Well, I mean, two parts to that, which is Lorraine often spoke to me about the concept of diabolical confusion.
Yeah.
Right? It's where this thing hijacks you, and it's like you're in a fun house. Like you are in hysterics.
Yeah, man.
And I've experienced it on other demonic cases. It's almost like you disassociate a little bit, and then in other times you are just full of bewilderment. And so from my perspective, granted, I have been in this basement before.
Right. But
on one hand, there are the stairs with light, and then there's the really creepy dark corner. And yet, as you were being touched and prodded, regardless of what was going on, you were moving more and more into dangerous territory.
Yeah.
And even when I was like, Chad, do not go over there, that's where you were going. It was like something was directing you.
Yeah.
And Chad, you're a bigger dude, right?
Yeah.
Or back then you were. I couldn't really sway you physically.
Oh no.
And I also knew too, if I got in between you and this thing, I would probably lose.
Yeah.
So then there was a moment of fear on my end as well, of holy shit, Chad's experiencing this confusion. For whatever reason, I was not.
Yeah.
Because even the most seasoned, trained investigators, like Ed and Lorraine, they have experienced it.
Yeah.
At times too. So like, it's not like, oh, you were weaker, you were stronger. It's like, it could have been in reverse. But for whatever reason, you were being hijacked.
Yeah.
You were going that way, and then there's these hooks and stuff. That was one moment where I was genuinely terrified.
Yeah.
And I also, the other part of this too is, I definitely had some regrets of going like, I cannot believe I just brought Chad into the IM6 house and really didn't think about like, hey, listen, here's how some of these intense demonic cases go.
Yeah.
So I kind of I felt a little, culpable in this and worried that I was putting you or others in danger. But thankfully, we survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember, you were shaken. And then, a little fun fact, is that, Katrina was actually there with us, and which I have no memory of.
Hold on. Katrina was in the basement with us.
Yes. And it was,
Dude,
I don't know
that
how we
is a
talked
mind fuck. Are you serious? That is wild, dude.
Yeah, because I don't know how it came about, but even as I was telling the story about you and I being alone in the basement, I think Katrina finally just pulled me to the side and said, Ryan, I was there in the basement with you guys.
Dude, and you don't remember it either. You don't remember her either being there?
No, I have no memory.
Dude, I have no memory of that. Wow.
So she said, from her perspective, she was like, down in the basement with us, was hanging, didn't go further down. Then she was like, then you guys were talking and stuff was happening. And she's like, all right, I'm going to go up. get prepared for some things. She turns around, hits her head on a wooden beam.
Wow.
So she's like, ow, oh my God.
And we didn't hear her.
Blinding pain.
Oh my
We
God,
didn't hear
dude.
her. We didn't,
Oh my
we didn't
God.
acknowledge her. Nothing. So she said that she was like holding her head and she goes, I'm okay, guys. I'm okay.
Oh
but she's
my
like, but
God.
you guys weren't even paying attention to me. So then she like hobbles to the stairs, then hits her like shin or ankle and falls.
At the same time, this was all going on.
Yeah, as we were doing everything that we just described, she is climbing up the stairs,
Oh my
holding her head,
God.
limping up the stairs, and she's like, "It's okay, guys. I'm all right. Just a little clumsy today."
Oh my oh God,
She's like,
dude, what
and
the fuck?
she was like, she told me, she was like, I just limped up those stairs thinking, fucking assholes.
Oh my God, man. Well, shit.
So yeah, like,
Katrina, if you're listening to this, I need to call you regardless.
Yeah.
But Katrina, I am truly sorry. I have zero recollection of her being there, and you don't. How weird is that? That neither of us remember her being there. That's so fucking weird. Whoa.
yeah, when she told me that, I was mind blown that because she was, yeah, I mean, she was like, she was almost insulted that I still like had no memory of it. Like, but I was like, Katrina, I literally have no memory of you being there.
That is so wild because I'm just thinking about it right now. I have zero recollection of her being there. Yeah. Wow, what a trip, man. Holy shit. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, hey, listen, man. I mean, it was. Well, first of all, Katrina, sweetheart, I am sorry. Yeah, I didn't know because I didn't see her outside either. That's what I was just thinking of because when we went outside, I'm like, was she out there? Maybe she. I didn't remember that because I'll tell you what happened when we went outside. You and we talked for a little bit, and I said to you, "Look, I just need some time." And at that point, I was not only scared, I was honestly thinking, I'm going to get myself hurt or somebody fucking hurt because I'm running back in my head over everything. I'm going, okay, right away, the number 18 happens. I think that whole thing is a calling card to let me know I'm here with you. And then I'm sitting here going, okay, then the drum thing happens right in front of me. Chip turns and says, it's saying it can kill you. I'm going, oh my God, this is, very direct and personal. And then Raum in the hallway in the other case, I'm like, oh my God, that's directly tied to my family's case. Like all these personal, you know what I mean, kept coming back. And then we show up to this place and I get instantly attacked, which just so everybody knows, that has never occurred to me. Never in my life has anything pushed me, hit me, scratched me. Never, never, never. To the point that I had really got to a place where I was like, I'm not sure that's even real. I think it might be psychosis when people report that. But, so I was super freaked out. And I was at the same time feeling guilty. Like, man, am I bringing, more pain and danger to this? So I called my dad, and this is interesting because, my father's no longer with me, but this is one of those conversations that I would just never, ever forget. And I was damn near in tears talking to him, and I explained to him what happened. And he was just listening quietly, and he's like, okay. And I'm like, Pops, should I just feel like maybe I should just come home and, fuck it. Like, I'm not helping anything. I'm going to get somebody hurt, if not myself. Ryan could have been hurt. Obviously, Katrina bounced off the stairs and was hurt. So, and, my dad listened for a long time. And he said, boy, my dad always kind of started that, boy. And he'd say, I can't remember verbatim every word of it, but essentially what he said was, you didn't wind up there by accident. You didn't just, oops, I'm in Quincy. he was like, there is a string of events in your life that have put you there. And he said, I believe that, you're in the place that you're exactly meant to be. And there is a positive reason why those people need you. And right now, you need them. You need them. And he's like, I said, so, basically, what do I do then? I mean, like, just tell everybody, just warn them. And he said, well, I think you need to be honest with people and let them know exactly how much stuff you're dealing with. Let them know the connections that have, that have gone on. Don't worry about the show, the TV show. He was like, because at this point, I don't think you're making a TV show. I think you're living something very real and you're trying to help people. And I go, okay. And he goes, and from there, he's like, stand up. He's like, be proud, soldier on. And it's funny because that soldier on thing, that ended up becoming like this calling card for us, like something that we ended up saying for years. Whenever we'd come up against really, really difficult situations. But I remember just how powerful that was to me when he said, you need those people, and they need you right now. That there was, basically he was trying to say God didn't make a mistake. My dad's very religious at that time, and, I certainly wasn't, but I definitely was spiritual. I definitely just unsure of what it is, you know what I mean? God in general. And he just said that, this isn't the type of thing that happened by mistake. And you need to basically,
Right.
put your big boy shoes on and soldier on. Get back in there and help those people because they need you and you need them. And it was a moment for me that, God damn, man. Yeah, my dad just knew how to, he just knew how to talk to me. He knew how to, just install pride and install strength through words, We talked about this before. My dad, he wasn't a man of many words. He didn't small talk. He didn't like to bullshit.
Yeah.
But man, when he would speak, it was profound. And he ended up watching this whole episode when it was all over, and he was very proud of us, man. He was very proud of everything that we went through to do this case, man. But yeah, that's where that, I'm sure, the people that followed us over the years, they've seen that soldier on our text message or Instagram posts and different times here and there it came up and yeah, that was Rod Calek. But
I appreciate you sharing that, Chad.
yeah, man.
I was fortunate to have gotten to meet your dad, and I mean, you're right. He does not, like you said, does not do small talk, but what he said is very profound.
Yeah.
Which is something I admire a great deal of someone who can just kind of be matter of fact and say so much more with very little.
Yeah, that
words.
That is a
very few
very
words,
good way to describe Rod Calek. Yes, he didn't believe in speaking unless it was important, unless you had something real to say that you could bring to the table, and yeah, that kind of military training of his, and that's kind of how he spoke to me that day. It was kind of like, I mean, it really was kind of like how you look at it if you're in a position as a soldier where it's like, look, this might not be fun. This might not, make you feel safe. You might be freaked out. You might want to quit, but, you're not in the position to do any of those things. You're in the position to continue. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the position to continue. And that's what you're going to do. Because, the ethos wouldn't have put you there. Whatever you want to call it. The universe wouldn't have put you in that position that so few, have ever seen before, So after that happened, I went and talked to you and just said, okay, like, let's do this, man. What do we got to do to help? But I'll tell you the other thing that was really weird, too, is at some point, I remember production showed up, and that's it. We beat production there. That's why that all happened early. Because then they showed up and they wanted everybody out, and they wanted everybody to sign the papers. And we all went back in, and Laura welcomed everybody there like they were old family. You'd have thought she was having a Christmas party. Everybody
Right.
except me. She didn't say hello to me, didn't want to touch me, avoided me like the plague. I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it was just, and again, I just think when looking back at it now, hindsight, yeah, look, throughout that whole thing, I was marked, period. You know what I mean? So it's like, it makes sense now, but in the moment, I was like, what in the hell? But there was one thing that I noticed right away, Ryan, that made me really uncomfortable is, I assumed that Laura was a fan of Ryan Buell as a person, period. You're somebody that was there trying to help her. But what I saw that I didn't know and didn't expect was a girl that, to me, was like fangirling over Ryan. And that worried me right away. Because I was just like, oh man, is she really going to do what would require Ryan to never come back again? That was an initial thought of mine. And we hadn't got a chance to speak about that yet. But after meeting all of them, I remember I went outside with, we ended up calling Mary Beth actually to come up. Because when we stopped to get that hot chocolate earlier, man, the word got around fast that we were there. And if you remember, people started showing up. It was pouring snow outside. And like people in the town, like fans, were showing up outside the house because they figured out that we were back there. So we had to get our own people to kind of do crowd control type of stuff. And I was outside with Imby. She had just got there. And I looked through the window. And, dude, Laura's neck and her face, I just saw her face through the window. And she was, like, choking. But it was weird. It was like her neck and her face just swelled up like a puffer fish. It was bad. And I ran inside, and you and Lorraine were next to her. And kind of describe that whole scenario and what happened there.
I think we were just all sitting around kind of catching up. They were recounting all the things that had happened. That was the other thing too, man, is that we're trying very hard to, sorry, my dog's barking in the background.
It's okay. I can mix them out.
Okay, cool. So, we wanted to do our best to stay in touch with clients, but the more episodes we did, the more clients we accumulated, plus new clients that we were working with, plus just hundreds and thousands of emails. So, we were catching up with them and them telling us all the things that have been going on, and not even just paranormal, but just with them all together. And then all of a sudden, Laura just started choking.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking with the other members of the family, and all of a sudden, Laura just starts gasping. And I don't even think I noticed it at first. It was the mom. Barb was like, oh my God, she's choking. And I look over, and she's already red, and she can't breathe. Her head's perched back, and it was going on longer than it had before. So I remember saying to someone, I'm pretty sure it was me, we need call 911. Like, we're not fucking around this time. Like, call 911. So they call 911. We're dousing her with holy water, saying prayers, while at the same time I'm sitting here going, I'm hearing, the voicemail playing in my head, and now this is happening. So thankfully, the paramedics got there really fast. They came in, and of course, they see a camera crew, everything else. But by that point, she had started breathing again. They check her out. She's fine. Apparently, the paramedics have been called on numerous occasions, so they were kind of familiar with it. But it was a frightening moment where because it went on for a very long time, and I was literally about to grab her and just start doing CPR.
No, I agree. She was turning like her lips.
I do CPR.
Her lips were turning like blue and shit. Like, yeah, it was bad, dude. It was really bad. Because I asked our producer at that time, God, what was his name? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's between you and I, the little dude, Zoomin, I think it was. But I said, did this happen before? Let me restate that. Yeah, I asked the producer at that time, has this happened before? And he looked at me and he shook his head and he goes, nothing like this. And so, yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, but yeah, I saw from everybody's reaction. And from what I saw, it was bad.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was, again, the show doesn't, I don't even know if that part made it in the show.
Oh,
I can't remember.
But Ryan, it didn't do it justice. It was, it made it look like she just couldn't.
Like she was choking for 5 seconds and, that was, thank God you guys prayed. No, we were talking, like, it was, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I was really thinking, like, this is it. Like, we're literally watching her die. And so, waiting for the paramedics, and again, thankfully they came really fast, but then whatever it was, it stopped and she was able to breathe. And I mean, there was snot coming out of her nose, or drool coming out of her mouth. I mean, like coughing. And her dad, after we all kind of had like a big sigh of relief, her dad just, and of course the paramedics are doing their thing, and then they check her out, and then they're like, okay, she's good, we're leaving. But then Dad has a breakdown in the kitchen.
That was disturbing.
Yeah, he's stumbling around, and he's grabbing his chest. He's peering over. And again, this guy was a very stoic guy. The first time I met him, in the first time we did the case, he didn't even shake my hand. He had wanted nothing to do with us. Only reason why he was letting us in was because he was wanting to do whatever it took to help his daughter. And now here he is. I felt for him so hard in that moment because he couldn't take it anymore. Yeah,
dude. I'll tell you what was really disturbing about that moment. He was grasping his chest. He's sweating bullets. Again, I don't know if that made the episode or not, but it should have. He was in bad shape. It looked like he was having a heart attack. And like shortly after that, Laura's back on her feet and she's following you around reading this interview that you did for TV Guide and just laughing about how cute it is and how good you did and all this shit. And I'm looking at this. There are two things that happened. Also, I'll come back to that in a second. Also, when Laura was choking, I saw something out of Barb that really freaked me out. She was being very, how can I put this? It was operatic, very stage actorish. She was like acting as I want to say acting, maybe she is, overtly like power Christian, like throwing her foot up on the counter, and as her daughter's choking, she's literally in this like totally just, like I said, it was almost like a play opera or play acting. She was like, kneel before me, child of Jesus Christi, and like all this stuff. It was fucking bizarre, dude. I was just like, man, this is really weird. And this continued to go on. And after Laura kind of came back, Barb was very much acting like she just kicked its ass, showed it what's up, like that type of thing. As the husband's like acting like he's now having a heart attack. And the daughter's acting like she's okay now, and she's reading, this, interview that she's fangirling out. And there's more to the story that people didn't know. There's a brother, Laura and the brother have Marfan syndrome. The brother just had surgery for this. He was walking around with fresh scars, man, from heart surgery and shit. And so there's a lot of people thought Laura was 16 or 17. She was 28, 29 years old. She's a grown woman that has no friends. Nobody comes to see her. Like any woman that's that age, she's still going to have woman feelings. So I'm watching her just have this, overwhelming attraction to you. I'm watching the mother. The mother has, in my opinion, I'll tell you my honest opinion, Ryan. My honest opinion was we've missed it. What's going on here is the mother is possessed. Laura is oppressed. Because Laura appears to me that she knows what she's doing. The mother appears to me like someone else is in control of this vessel. It was strange. Just my opinion, man. Not a demonologist. Take it for what it's worth. But after I saw Laura reading that to you, I went outside with you, and I said, I took a lot of shit for this on the episode, but I said to you, I don't think this will ever get solved. I don't think Laura wants this fixed. Because if it is resolved, you're never coming back. And I don't think she wants that. And I wish this was in the episode, but it wasn't. Because you went off and you were pacing and you wanted to be left alone. And I was just sitting inside with your team, just waiting to see what the next step was. And you walked in and you said, "Where's Laura?" And you came around and you looked at her and you said, "You are killing this family. You are tearing this family apart." And I so thought that needed to be said. I so thought that you hit the right button at the right time, because she needed to understand that you're not there because you're her fucking friend. You know what I'm saying? You're there to help. There's a job here. This is your job. This is what you do. You're not there to sign shit and to be, Ryan Buell from Paranormal State. You're trying to help her, and she's not helping the situation. It was wild.
Well, I mean, I know that there was some discussion too about is she faking it, and I was of the mindset that it didn't really matter, because see, the demonic, it's rarely black and white.
I agree,
right?
100%.
It's all these over the top things. No, I think what we were dealing with is, again, like you mentioned, Marfan syndrome. Laura had this, from what I recall, she went to a prestigious undergraduate school. She had this bright future, but then health issues took force, and she had to move back home and kind of let go of some of these dreams. And she formed a relationship with something there where it was violating her, but it was also giving her attention. And likewise, I hear you about Mom, but Barb was very religious, or is very religious, and she relied heavily on her faith.
No, but the thing with her, Ryan, what made me, she just didn't, it just seemed like something else was, had the wheel. I mean, because when we would, like I said, we'd get done and she's acting like, she's literally trying to convince everybody that she just whipped that demon's ass and showed it and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, really? What happened here? Your daughter about choked to death. EMTs came and got her breathing. Now your husband's about having a heart attack. And it's you're trying to convince us that it's all good, And And now again,
It was
just an observation. I am not a demonologist. I'm fully accepting the fact that I can be completely wrong. It just seemed that to me, Laura was aware of what she was doing, and her mother seemed to be less aware.
It was a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
Like,
I would like to point this
it
out
was just
too,
a
Ryan.
really messed up situation.
You mentioned earlier they said, people said, is she faking? Look, if she was faking it, to me, that's not a reason why she wouldn't be possessed. To me, that demonstrates even more that she would be. Because who the fuck would fake that? You know what I mean? Like, would go to that degree to fake that stuff, cause that much chaos, hurt that many people. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are not, like, you're not well, man. You're not well. And if something's compelling you to do that, and that's the best option for you, yeah, you're not well. I mean, and I've also been to cases before where people are possessed, or there is a negative haunting, where things do happen, and people will fake stuff because they don't want to, they either want help or they don't want to seem crazy. You know what I mean? This happens a lot in cases. Yeah. So that's why, Yeah,
it's possible to have some fakery
Sure.
along with authentic paranormal stuff.
Right.
Because, like you said, sometimes investigators go in, nothing happens. And in intelligent hauntings, it's doing that for a reason. So the clients are desperate, and so they do things. But yeah, I mean, and then you add all the accumulation of all the experiences that we had. And I do remember that talk with Laura, and I do remember saying those words, like, you are killing your family, you're killing your father. And I remember she just kind of was like, well, and she muttered something, and I just had to walk away from it.
Yeah, she was very like, oh, well, yeah. I was just like, what the fuck, man?
I was also trying to appeal to Laura in there.
Right.
Like, we need you to come back because this is not just harming you. You're not the only victim in this.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that, I think, is probably the last and most important point that I want to make about these demonic cases. And I saw this growing up with my family, and you see it when you would go and do cases, is that in a possession case, everyone's sick. Everyone's sick. You know what I mean? Like, the person that's possessed is obviously dealing with incredible, overwhelming circumstances, but it kills the whole family. The amount of suffering that goes on. I mean, it's just, I look at it this way, and maybe people out there that have children can understand this. Like, the only thing that I could imagine in my life that would hurt me worse than myself being like demonically possessed would be the thought of seeing my daughter demonically possessed. I mean, Jesus, that's
Sure.
living hell on earth, bro. I mean, that is hell on earth. And that's what I saw with that whole family more than anything. And when I say I thought her mother did this or Lord, it's not the people. I'm talking about whatever it is that's affecting them. You know what I mean? Because these people, it's like, it's the same as when someone is completely overtaken by addiction. And we know that all too well.
Yep.
That's not the person. That's why we're there, because the good person that we know is gone, and there's like this imposter. Right? There's this imposter that is just fucking levying the evil of the world down, on this family. And it's just, man, yeah, it's weird that, I know why A&E was always pushing for those demonic cases. And once
that in itself, was an issue too, Chad, because it's not meant for people just to go into a case like this and then turn around and go do another dark case the next week and then another.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, look, I got fucking attacked, and I think a big part of that was there was no downtime for me. It was go do Paranormal State, and when that's over, go back and work on my family case. So there is no re-strengthening.
Yeah. Right?
And you were doing the same thing. Yeah. You were every day, new case. And once I started directing for you, oh, that was, man, I would get all those side phone calls that you weren't privy to. That was, hey, man, we really got to find something heavier, man. I mean, do we have any more demonic cases in the barrel? And I remember just sitting there just going, oh, you guys don't fucking get it. You don't get it. Like, it's not a real thing to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a real thing to you. It's TV programming. It's content. And it's, once you experience it, you just know how real it is. And well, anyways, I know we've been going on, but there's one more thing I do want to touch on that I thought was absolutely monumental. And I'm glad I was a part of it because, again, that whole time, I'm just going, God, I so want to help and I want to be a part of this. And I remember at the end, again, I'm not religious, I'm not spiritual, and there was all these religious and spiritual things that everybody was doing, and you would come up with a plan, and, with the family, and, a deliverance, and Lorraine was there, and we were all just talking about what could be done, and it just quickly popped into my head, something that my dad, again, was just always a believer in, which is that there is strength in numbers, and I had quickly just said to you, you know what, man, we should do something, like, where you ask everybody to get involved and say a prayer and try to help this family. And what was cool about it is we just decided quickly, or you did, quickly decided, yes, this is what we want to do. And we did it so fast. I mean, we just literally ran downstairs right after I said it. It was one take. The take that everybody saw is one take. Clicked it on, hit record. You spoke from the heart. I thought it was genuine as fuck. It was beautiful. And I love the fact that you were able to take this show, this thing that at times had caused so much strife and personal anguish because it was so difficult at times to be a part of. You were able to actually use it as an actual weapon to aid what you were doing and use technology to help. And to everybody that took a part in that, I mean, know that you were really a part of, the attempted solution for this. I mean, it was one of those rare times in TV where something overwhelmingly authentic happened. It just happened. And none of it would have happened had it not all gone down that way. Because at that point, nobody was, I mean, it's crazy. For the people that watch TV won't know how big of a deal this is, but at that point, nobody was talking to story producers or producers to A&E. We were making our own shit. We were filming. There was no time to discuss anything, and whatever happened, happened. So there wasn't any like, well, let's get A&E's, thoughts on, should we do this thing with the crowd? You know what I mean? It was just like, nope, we're doing it. And yeah, we went downstairs, shot it. I thought you did an amazing job, and I thought it was an incredibly powerful thing to be a part of, where that night, I mean, I think the last that we looked, it was something like 30 or 40,000 people, were lighting this candle and saying prayers. And I thought, man, if the power of prayer is real, and if, the ability of God is real, like, man, I can't think of a better way to go about doing this. And I just thought it's something you should be really proud of, man. And the whole situation in general, you truly did fight for something that you believed in. So did I. And it was super cool, Ryan. It was super cool, dude. Super fucking cool.
It was cool, wasn't it? It was, we were talking a little earlier about how the demonic has adapted and uses technology against us. And so on the other end, it's like, you're right. Like, what if we had never really thought of it before of, okay, can you guys all pray at the same time? It felt like we weren't alone, because a lot of times the demonic like to make you think you're alone.
Yeah.
And we had each other, but we were also, all of us were really going through it pretty hard.
Yeah,
so it was nice to feel this light coming from somewhere. And I think, people who are fans of Paranormal State, they get it. They got it.
Yeah.
Like I think that authenticity, I always prayed that the authenticity would come through. And even to this day, I mean, people still talk to me about how they could see the heart and soul in it.
People, Ryan, or very few shows get that X-Files type fan following. And Paranormal State truly does have that fanfare. I hear from Paranormal State fans every day of my life. I mean, if I go online, there are Paranormal State fans on there that love everything about it. The show's still airing on different networks and stuff. I mean, and I think a lot of it's because, we did do things that nobody has ever done. And, you are, with that show, you were the driving reason behind that. And that's a fact. I mean, nobody else was fighting to do things like UFO Ranch, or the Jersey Devil, or even showing a case like IM6, or, or fighting to get the freedom to film some of the stuff the way we film things. I mean, like I said, IM6 Part 2 is the closest thing to authenticity that you'll ever see on TV. Again, there were no production meetings, man. There wasn't time for it. There were production arguments, and eventually they just threw their hands up and said, fuck it, turn the cameras on and film them. And that's how it went down.
Yeah, IM6 was the truest form of documentary. There was no, like, what are we doing tomorrow? It was, okay, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
And we didn't even know.
Yeah.
It's funny when we talk about these cases, even with the last podcast where we were talking about cases mixed with, my own stuff. Yeah. It's nice to really get to just talk about it and remember things that, kind of just live in our memory. Now we're sharing it with the world. And to, like you said, like, I have no doubt a lot of people will listen to this because Paranormal State, thanks to the fans, is still standing the test of time.
Yeah, man.
And I appreciate those words too, Chad.
Yeah, no, it was. Look, it's why I wanted to be on the show. I had Jay and Grant look me straight in the eye and say, come to Sci-Fi. We want, your show to be right before us. I had a number of shows that came to me. I was a part of a show when I first met you that I was making. And the only show that I would have chosen to be a part of that was active was Paranormal State. And it was because it's the one show I looked at that said that's cinematic and they're going after real stories of real people. And that's, I'm glad I did because it was special. And this case was truly special. It was hard. It was emotionally difficult, spiritually difficult. But I think the best things in life are worth fighting for. And this is a prime example of that. And it was just a great episode, man. So I'm glad people finally kind of get to hear you kind of walk through this with me because you and I always had a very unique perspective of the cases that we did together. And there was just always so much more going on than what people saw, And I think people are really going to enjoy this, Ryan. So thank you for doing this with me. And I'm sure they will beg you to do another, and it'll be fun. We'll pick one down the road to do again. And yeah, man. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And to everybody listening, thank you so much for listening to the In a Crowded Room podcast. And I will be back very soon with another episode. All the best.